Hello, everyone. This is a new episode of Headliners, and today we are talking about different types of blockchain. And I have a guest. This is Shai. So, Shai, I want to ask you a first question. What Kaspa really is? What does it mean for the people I know, for the whole industry, for the blockchain?
Kaspa is a new layer one. It's not that new anymore. I need to get used to it. But it is an L1 that applies a new technology, a new protocol called the GHOSTDAG. And it's a community project. It's completely fair launched. There was no pre-allocations, no pre-mining. A lot of thought was put into the launch model and how to make sure the coin is as equally spread as possible. And beyond that, it's a brand new technology that has achieved some holy grails that were never achieved before. For once, it's you can say that it's a true trilemma solver, and I know a lot of people say it, and a lot of people are skeptical. So if any one of the listeners, watchers is skeptical, I challenge them to give it an hour of research before dismissing me. We managed to upscale the transaction throughput to the theoretical limit, meaning that it's only limited by hardware. We managed to scale down confirmation time, how long we want to wait for confirmation, to its theoretical limit, which is the network delay. And all of this, again, is pure proof of work, no tricks, the same simpleness and the same ideas using Bitcoin. And only it's a very slight and gentle generalization of Bitcoin, but it's just a very correct one. Other than that, we realized as we went along that it affords solutions to a lot of other problems. The high parallelism has very nice effects. Essentially, the fact that a miner has only partial knowledge of the state that's going to be created after this block is accepted allows us to do stuff like have a better fee market than Bitcoin or other chains and provide the first game theoretical solution to miner extractable value. So it's really hard to define, but it's everything. It's the new protocol, it's the other innovations, it's the approach, it's the open community project, and it's the huge, devout and very passionate community of people.
Can you explain maybe the main use case of this Kaspa network? I mean, why people or industry needs one more solution?
I think what we want to build is the ultimate layer one. We want to build the layer ones that could do all the things other layer ones do combined. Just think that if we could solve a lot of the inherent problems in Bitcoin that previous layer ones only solves partially, if we can provide a full quality solution and a very good implementation and in practice proof that it works, then we're actually starting to drawing back enterprise and corporate players that tried to use crypto in the past and found that its performance is lacking. And I think you could do right now, there are still infrastructure works to be done. One of the two main topics on the horizon are smart contracts and MEV resistance. And once these are available, it will just be the ultimate layer one. Everything you can do with a layer one, you would do with this layer one.
You know, we spoke a lot about layer one, but can you explain what does it mean, layer one?
Layer one is like what Bitcoin is. It's an independent network with its own technology, with its own state. It doesn't rely on the existence of any other network to run. It's independent. A layer one is essentially a consensus. It's something that allows you to reach an agreement, assuming there is an honest or rational majority. It allows you to reach a worldwide agreement. That's what it is. That's what Bitcoin does. That's what Ethereum does. And this is what Kaspa does. The reason I think people would prefer Kaspa is because the high throughput makes it much cheaper to use. Low latency makes it much more reactive, provides much better user experience.
Okay, who is the target audience who can implement Kaspa network or use it in some way? Let's say someone from structure for the banks or for the final customers. How do end customers and people can use it?
Well, first of all, you can just download a wallet and get some Kaspa and enjoy seeing how fast you can just transfer it around. There are already some places in the world that accept Kaspa. I do some of my shopping with Kaspa. Not enough, but we're working on it. It's really fun to see that you pay someone Kaspa and the money actually goes through faster than if you'd pay them with a credit card, if they had a credit card terminal. And people can experiment with this right now. Other than that, there is also a KRC20 network. Because it's a community project, there isn't like a team. a completely independent team from China called GHOSTDAG, funded by from the Kaspa Ecosystem Foundation, which is again a foundation that was created independently and by people who wanted to develop Kaspa. And it's not going to be the only foundation too. There is also the Kaspa Industrial Initiative and some other things that are being drawn up. It's not the same under the hood, but it provides a similar functionality to the BRC network that you have on Bitcoin. It doesn't give you ordinals, it works differently, but it does allow you to mint coins. It launched, not the beta launch, but the main launch, what happened a few weeks ago, don't exactly remember when. More than 100 coins were deployed at the same day, and the network was completely bombarded. We had queues of 100,000 transactions and more because of the congestion, and the network operated in 270 to 300 transactions per second for 24 hours. And I'm talking about the mainnet, right? It wasn't a test. And the mainnet processed 23 million transactions during this time, which is, I think, more than twice more than the theoretical limit that Ethereum could do. And we've seen that everything worked just fine. There was a lot of delay because the network was congested, but from the layer one point of view, people are running nodes. Now, the thing is, you want the nodes to be cheap to run. People are running nodes on the Raspberry Pis, on old iPhones, on hardware which costs as much as $100. Even with the 300 transactions per second throughput and queues of 100,000 transactions, there were no problem reported. I'll tell you more than that. Our mainnet works on a 1 block per second, but we already have a testnet that's been running for 9 months openly, and anyone can join. People are joining in, creating nodes, destroying nodes, throttling the hash rate and doing stuff just to see if things will break. 10 blocks per second, 3,000 transactions per second, full load, still running perfectly on 100 bucks hardware. This is like the great appeal here.
What do you think, how it can change the people's life, if it will be implemented and if it will become a worldwide, or it will gain the same popularity than an Ethereum or Solana, etc.?
So first of all, it will be layer one that is much cheaper to use than Ethereum or Solana. It would be much cheaper to participate in, because running an Ethereum or Solana validator requires very expensive hardware. I heard somewhere, I haven't verified, I don't know if it's true, but I heard somewhere that Solana is applying so much pressure on the disk. Even if you have to use like RAID arrays and expensive disks. And even then, they burn out like once a year. You have to replace your hard drive because of all this I/O pressure. Kaspa would provide similar functionality, similar throughput, similar performance, but would require much cheaper hardware and would be easier to implement over. And another aspect is the mining. Because in Kaspa we have such a high block rate, it puts the whole miner back on the center. Think about it. If Bitcoin creates 144 blocks per day, Bitcoin network can support at most 144 miners or pools that see a revenue every day. Kaspa, which the crescendo hard fork is not scheduled yet, but it's going to be in the within a few months, it's going to bring us to 10 blocks per second, 864,000 blocks a day. And people say that ASIC mining is an economy of scale, which is true. But going to 6,000 blocks more means you scale it down by 6,000. And consequently, we see that even though the mining is very, very popular and the hash rate is insane, we just reached 1 exahash. Now, if I remember correctly, a single Kaspa hash is about as expensive as 20 Bitcoin hashes. 1 exahash of Kaspa in CapEx is equivalent to about 20 exahash of Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin right now has about 600 exahash. It's about 1 in 300. But the fact that it's even starting to see the orders of magnitude of the Big Daddy shows us that there is something very, very strong here. There are Kaspa ASICs in productions for like a year and a half now. So we get to talk with retailers and get their impression. And they're telling us, look, in other coins, whenever there is a new, bigger, better mining machine, everyone forgets about the old machines because all of the customers are enterprise who just want to buy the best machines. And in Kaspa, even though there are big machines which are more efficient, the small home miner, which only costs, I think, like 600 or 700 bucks, is still the most popular product, because even though it's that cheap, you only need one of them to see steady revenue, even if you're solo mining. So one thing that Kaspa really does for the people is that even in large scales, even if it reaches Bitcoin scales, the amount of hardware you would need to see weekly revenue is like $1,500, which is not spare change, but it's not enterprise money either. It's not like in Bitcoin where you need like an entire data center to be able to mine and see a weekly revenue.
What about you personally? Why you decided to join Kaspa network? And what is your role in this project?
I'm a PhD in quantum cryptography. I met Jonathan Sompolinsky, the founder of Kaspa, which is, by the way, the guy that invented the Ghost protocol. He's been impactful for many years. And the Ghost protocol is essentially the reason why Ethereum is faster than Bitcoin. I met him because during my PhD studies, we taught a course together in Introduction to Algorithms. It was like 2016, and I was very disenamored with the world of blockchain because I was interested in 2013, 2014, and then people made a lot of promises about the scalability issues. They told us that Lightning is going to solve everything and all sorts of promises, and nothing came to fruition. So I decided that crypto doesn't work and moved on with my life. I put some on my portfolio, but I lost interest as a technology and as a theory. When I met Yoni, he told me that he's gonna form a company, and he asked me if I want to join the company, and I said, no, crypto doesn't work. I gave up on it. And he said, well, I managed to get it to work. And I said, yeah, sure you did. You also invent time travel. But then I read his papers. Just at some point, I had an epiphany. I was like, hey, this works. So I decided to join and be a part of the effort. It was about 2017 before the name Kaspa was even chosen. And I've been around for the ride ever since with a few stops, but I worked in DagWebs initially as a spec writer, but it didn't really hold on. I essentially did research work. I did architecture. I designed some of the aspects of the protocol and of the system. And after the network launch, I took on a more educational and community role. I'm trying to be a bridge between what the researchers and developers are doing and the community. I also started writing a free open book. We call it Understanding GHOSTDAG. You can find it on Google. I'm posting parts of it as I write them. So right now there are about 3.5 chapters, but eventually I will try to publish it. This is the way I contribute to Kaspa right now. We're trying to make it known, educate the people. I also go around the world to conferences and to meetings and talk to people and try to help with the business development and connect people and try to be a hub that makes connections that make things happen without dependent of me.
So now you are the part of the team of the Kaspa network.
So the reason the team, it's a community project. Anyone can work on it. I think the most thing that is parallel to the Bitcoin core team are the Rusty Kaspa crew. And there are people who are working on the Rusty Kaspa client, which is currently the only seriously developed client. One of the problems with technology is it's very hard to develop for this technology. It requires a lot of knowledge. This is one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing, because if we want quality developers, we need to make the theory more accessible. Because right now you need to read graduate level papers to really understand the stuff. So we need to find a way to mitigate it better. I'm not part of the Rusty Kaspa crew because I don't know Rust. I'm not a good software developer. I try to remain unaffiliated with anyone, not with the Kaspa Ecosystem Foundation, not with the Kaspa Industrial Initiative. I try to know everyone, but not be affiliated with anyone to keep my independence. It's important to me. So I wouldn't affiliate myself with any ongoing crew. I have a great friendship with all of them. I was on the original team that created Kaspa before it launched.
What motivates you to do all the things? Because it looks like you are super inspired with the technologies, etc. What motivates you to wake up from the bed in the morning and contribute to the different projects?
First, I love the technology and I love the community. I'm getting a lot of motivation from the constant positive feedback I'm getting for the things they do. So much more easier to get up in the morning and write when I know there are people lining up to read what I'm writing and that care about what I have to write and they are translating it to different languages. And at this point, I feel if I burn out and stop writing, I'm gonna disappoint people. This is a great motivational power. And besides it, I love what I do. I love writing. I love educating and explaining. I love math and I love theory. So it all fits together for me. Kaspa, the success of Kaspa gave me the opportunity to express myself the way I always liked, through writing and through explaining and through connecting in my terms. So I found out people or companies that would want to fund my book because I realized that writing a book is what I want to do. So this gives me a lot of motivation because I get to do what I love.
Where do you share all your thoughts with the people?
Mostly vocal on Twitter. Some people think I'm too vocal, but they are wrong. This is where I do most of my activity. For example, there are very many instances of people who try to fud the project and try to create rumors or try to push through well-written but completely wrong technical explanations. So usually the place where I will take these battles would be on Twitter because it's important to do it on a place that it's neutral. It's like the coward thing to do is to go and attack someone or reply to someone who attacks us on our Discord or on our Telegram. If I take it to Twitter, then it's the place where everyone can say everything and you can't say that this platform is biased towards one side. So this is where I express myself the most. But I am active on the Telegram, Discord. It's not very hard at all to reach me. But Twitter is my main outlet.
What is maybe some of the person that do you personally follow in Twitter? Maybe who inspires you?
I don't follow a lot of people. I don't go into Twitter to read too much about crypto and stuff. I follow everyone which is a major contributor to Kaspa, including community contributions, not just coders and academics, but also if I see people who consistently put out good content about Kaspa from a community, from a layman point of view, then I will follow them. But in Twitter, I will mostly follow people who make me laugh. I mean, reading Twitter for me is entertainment. It's not educational, which is weird because I'm using it as an educational platform, but more of a producer than a consumer.
You know, this is super interesting, but at the same time that you're a producer and you created and participate in a such big and interesting product that changed the way people interact with the blockchain, at the same time, you are looking for the funny things in Twitter, as I understood. What do you think about all this industry around memecoins? Because it looks like for the wider audience, they don't care about the technology, the scalability, the price of the transaction, the time that it requires process introduction. They're only looking for fast access, all these memecoins, etc. They're just looking for fun and for money. Does it help you or it pushes you back? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I love the meme coin industry. I personally don't do anything with meme coins. It doesn't appeal to me. But what I like about meme coins, they are honest about the value they provide. They don't sell you smoke and mirrors. They don't promise you the moon. They're just saying we're having good, honest fun. If you want to join, and I appreciate it a lot. I do think the main technological value of meme coins is that they allow us to have some organic usage of the network to stress test it and to see how it works in real world conditions, even though there isn't a whole lot of other uses for crypto. For example, in Kaspa, if we didn't have the KLC20 and we didn't have people launching and trading their meme coins, we wouldn't have this stress test, which I want to stress again. I would say it's the most successful proof of work experiment in the history of crypto. Live mainnet completely operating on 300 transactions per second for more than a day, non-stop, with no nodes crashing. I mean, it's incredible. And you say that meme coiners don't care about speed, but it's not completely true, because even if you're only there for meme coins, especially if they are integrated with anything, like you play a game and you get a meme coin for killing the boss, then you would still like it better if it takes the meme coin 5 seconds to reach your wallet and not 3 minutes. Like, if you want to see this on proof of work, then Kaspa is the only way to do it.
What do you think, why other blockchains started to move from proof of work to proof of stake? And why Kaspa decided to be the one?
Proof of stake is easier, especially now, because if you want to create a new proof of stake, you have all of these tons of implemented technology, implemented libraries, implemented infrastructure that you can just use. It gives you better performance. It gives you better throughputs, and it gives you better finality, and it gives you better reaction times than most proof of work. Why wouldn't you want to use it as a user who just wants to create a meme? The thing is, if you want to go back and think about what is the real purpose of things to offer true decentralization, then proof of stake arguably fails this. Not everyone will agree with this, but I think there is a strong case to be made, at least strong enough that you can't dismiss it if you do disagree with. In proof of stake, I think it has two very, very significant drawbacks when compared to proof of work. The first is that if you have some advantage, you get to keep it for free, right? Say you have 10% of Ethereum. If you keep staking it, then for all times you will keep having this 10% of Ethereum, and you could have an influence like that. You know, with 10%, you can't censor anyone, but you can stall them, you can create problems. If you compare this to proof of work, in proof of work, say even that you have 90%. If you want to maintain this 90%, you will have to keep working. You will have to keep spending money on infrastructure, on electricity, on maintenance, and on procuring new hardware as it is produced. Nothing guarantees that you are gonna keep your influence, and in proof of stake, it's essentially free. So this is a huge problem for proof of stake. How do we know we are not gonna have these huge blocks, reserves of coin that have too much influence and can coerce the network? The second thing is that actually the dynamics of proof of stake, they naturally go this way, because the more money you have, the larger proportion of your money you're going to put on stake. Unless we are in this weird situation where 100% of the money is staked, if just 80% of the money is staked, you're already in a situation where the proportion of stakers just gets larger with time. So I never seen any argument against the possibility that the end game of any proof of stake, if you look what would happen to any proof of stake if you wait long enough, is that you have huge undestroyable players that have huge influence to coerce the network. Then people say, okay, we just lure them out. We're just gonna fork them out. But that's not gonna happen. You can't even know which coins belong to which player, and the way that they can coerce the network would be very subtle and sophisticated, hard to detect. So I think it's a very cool technology. It's a very cool platform for doing fast consensus. But if you want to look at it as like this decentralized solution for global scale economy, I think these two issues make it prohibitive. Just make it inadequate. And in proof of work, we don't have these problems. We have other problems, but not these problems, which I don't see any way to reconcile it.
Does Kaspa network support any builders in some way? Any guys who want to build something on a Kaspa? How do the community or maybe the foundation supports the developers?
So the community is very welcoming, and the Rusty Kaspa crew, and it started with Michael Sutton, which was one of the Douglas employee, with him and with Ori Neumann, which is also a former Douglas employee. But more people kept joining. Now, right now, there are about 17 active contributors, and only 2 of them are from the original team. So you see that we take people into the front of the core. It's a bit like a fight club. You have to fight your way in, you have to be persistent. There isn't like an entry process, but people who show that they are serious and they study stuff and they take issues and implement them, they get the mentorship they need, and they become core developers. So right now, there are people, like 17 people from all over the world that are able to maintain and adapt the core code. All the support we can to builders from the community. And one thing that we did, I say we, but the Rusty crew did, was overhaul the entire API to make it much easier for developers to integrate Kaspa into whatever they're doing. And there are efforts right now to create ZK opcodes in the smart contract development stack. On the Manage Foundation side, the Kaspa Ecosystem Foundation recently announced a new program called the Catalyst program. It's a grant program, Catalyst with a K at the start, of course. It's a grant program. I think it has a total volume of $10 million, and they give grants for teams that are specifically focused with the ecosystem, helping develop the smart contract framework and developing interesting stuff above this framework. With KRC20, it's very easy to create meme coins. It's not smart contracts, but I think after they deployed the second protocol, KRC721, you could do NFTs. And on the Kaspa Industrial Initiative, they also want to do a launchpad. We give incubation and support and budget and grants for teams that want to do enterprise work, to want to integrate Kaspa into industries. And they also want to create like this Kaspa Academy thing, to teach people and to get them into up to speed with how to work with Kaspa. So there are efforts on all sorts of fronts, but mostly people who come to the community and want to contribute, we give them all the help they need as long as they are independent enough and they don't rely us like to give them consistent support. We will answer any question and we will gladly try to help as well as we can. And when I say we, I'm talking about a consistently growing community with a consistently growing hardcore of actual developers and engineers who understand how to help.
Can you explain me what does it really mean a community? We are talking with you a lot about that this is a community-based project. Community helps a lot. How to feel this community? This is a chats, people. How does it organize? Where do they base in internet?
The central hub of actual activity is the Discord server. This is where we have people coming in to tell us that we are working on projects and ask for our opinions. If they want something more consistent, we usually create a Telegram group or something like this. But the community is everywhere. It wasn't very structured, so the community is has a lot of outlets. There is a very active Telegram channel, very active Discord server, huge presence in Twitter where, there isn't like a central hub or anything. Anyone can create their account and create content. There is Kasmedia. It's a company created specifically to create Kaspa created content, and it was also created from the community. All the links I gave you, like the Cas.fyi, Explorer was created by a community, Caspian Wallet was created by a community, KRC20 was created by a community. So I'd say the community is everywhere. We launched the network. We believed that if we build it, they will come, and they have. And it's so organic that I can't really give you more explicit, more concrete answer.
On your website, on a Kaspa.fyi, we can see that there are a lot of active public nodes. It's like more than 100. What does it mean, Rusty nodes? Rusty nodes and Go nodes. What does it mean, Rusty nodes?
As I said, the limit for your throughput is hardware. What essentially it means that if the more efficient your implementation is, the more throughput you could churn out of the same hardware. We are aiming for a hardware of about $100. We want the cost of running a node at home not to exceed $100 or $150. The original implementation was written in the Go language. It's not a very efficient implementation, mainly because Go is not performance-oriented language, but also because some decisions were made along the way, which I won't call them mistakes. If it works, then it works. I would say that in retrospect, some of the engineers realized that they should have done it differently, which is okay. Every code base has this kind of stuff. But then Michael Sutton, on one inspired day, had the idea to take on the Herculean task to rewrite the entire thing from scratch, fixing all those decisions along the way in Rust, which is a much more performance-oriented language. And this ultra-efficient implementation is the reason that we are able to churn out this amazing performance. Now, 1 block per second we already managed on Golang. In Rust we can do it easily, 10 blocks per second also. Not that easily, but we managed to do it. What you see here is just how much of the nodes are running the Kaspa version and how much are running the Go version. There is a different statistic about miners. For each block, it's not authenticated, but I don't think anyone's lying about it. For each block, you can see if it was mined from a template that was generated by a Rusty node or a Go node. And you can see that I think 98% of mining or something like that is on Rusty nodes.
I can see that this is something around 86.76% Kas tokens already mined, right? What will be after you reach a 100% mined Kas?
Before I answer the question, may I just explain why the mining schedule is allegedly so fast? I think this is one of the more peculiar decisions People are used to proof of work. They're going to keep emitting block rewards for 200 years, even forever. And the reason we didn't go with it is because this is very counterintuitive. But the only way to be truly decentralized is to use a very, very ASIC-friendly algorithm. People think that ASICs go against this decentralization, but the truth is that designated hardware always wins. If you take any coin right now that uses any ASIC-resistant algo, I believe that if this coin strikes gold and becomes like 100 billion or 500 billion coin, then people will put in the effort and they will be able to create competitive hardware that creates mining with the GPUs or any other generic hardware in competitive. But because of the ASIC proofness of the algorithm, you would find that this designated hardware, these ASICs, are more expensive and they are inefficient, they require more electricity, and they generate more heat and require more maintenance. So it's kind of a lose-lose. On one hand, you became ASIC dominated anyway, but on the other, the ASICs are only available for people with a lot of money. So I think it's self-defeating. So we wanted ASICs, we embraced ASICs, especially if you remember that we have this very high block rate. If we already go for keeping the home miner in the center, it makes a lot of sense to go with an algo that will make his expenses as small as possible, right? But the thing is that if ASICs emerge too soon, then most of the coin will go to ASIC producers, right? You do want to have a large period of time where most of the coin is mined by GPU. GPU miners have a lot of expenses, so they sell a lot of the coin and then the coin spreads better. The purpose of the rapid emission was actually to emulate Bitcoin's emission schedule. Bitcoin's emission schedule seems much slower, but it's because you think about it in the wrong unit of measurement. You think about it as how much coin was mined as a function of time. You want to think about it as how much coin was mined as a function of adoption. And then you will see that both in Kaspa and in Bitcoin, ASICs emerged and hit the retail market around the 65-70% mark. So this is what we try to achieve, and we hit this nail on the head, and I think it's much better than if we'd gone with a very, very long emission schedule, and then we'd only see ASICs already at the 20% mark, 30% mark. So this was one of the considerations. And another consideration is a more idealistic one. Block rewards are crutches. One of the purposes is to mint the coin in a way that makes it spreads around, fine. But another main purpose is they are supposed to draw in miners and encourage miners to mine and secure the network before anyone pays them for that, right? So the protocol itself pays them for that as a start. But this is just supposed to be a temporary substitute for adoption. Eventually, it's supposed to be fees that are subsidizing paying the miners back for securing the network. When your emission schedule is set to end at 2157 or something, you're basically saying, I'm going to leave this problem of adoption and fee markets and subsidy to my great children if we survive as a species. By taking this fast emission schedule, we're actually saying that we want to see adoption in our lifetime when we believe that we can make it.
What is the easiest way to join Kaspa community network or something like this? How to contribute to it? Let's say me, you're the first person that I heard about Kaspa. I'm inspired of it. I want to make something for it. So what is the easiest way to join it?
It depends on what you want to do. If you want to be involved in a community capacity, you can join the Discord, learn about it, talk to people, make yourself known, and then tell your friends and get other people to know about it and research it, especially if you have friends which you think are in a point of influence. Either they are developers or they are working something related or they are academics. Getting known and noticed, especially in a positive way, is extremely important. I think most people still don't know about Kaspa, which is a good thing. It means there is a lot of room for growth. If you are a developer and you want to develop over Kaspa, either do your own project or contribute to the ongoing project, just come to the Discord and introduce yourself in the development channel or the research channel, depend if you want to do development or research. If there are any mathematicians and computer scientists who hear this, just know that many interesting open questions. Some of them I think are questions that could satisfy the requirements for an MS master thesis or a PhD thesis. So if you're looking for interesting problems to work on in algorithmic game theory and mechanism design, or in combinatorics and online systems, we have a lot of interesting problems that you could work on. So this would be an amazing way to contribute. But I think the best way to contribute, standard way to contribute, is just help us get the word around, learn, really convince, don't take our word, convince yourself that this project is standing up to all the things it claims to challenge us and be skeptical about us. Either we could assuage all of your concerns, or you could actually hit something which is a good point. We never shy away from a good discussion. One other way is you can join the ambassador program. It was just been revamped. We have an amazing ambassador program, amazing director of the ambassador program, and the ambassador program would give you the resources to spread awareness. It would provide you with merch and with budget and with all sorts of cool stuff. So I think these are about the ways. Like you could be an ambassador, you could be an active community member, you could be a developer or a researcher. This is the most of what we need right now.
I want to ask you the question one more time. That was one of my first questions. What is the most common use cases in the nearest future for the Kaspa network? Why me as a person need it?
One of the weird things about crypto in general, the cryptocurrency world, is that we find ourselves taking this fundamental product, it's a technological infrastructure, and sell it directly to retail, which is weird. I can show you all of the graphs and all of the data about why Kaspa has this amazing performance, but as you said, as a retailer, it doesn't mean much to you. I think the great promise in Kaspa, it would be used as a foundation over which to create stuff that appeals to retailers. That being said, just the fact that you can use it to move money around very fast has an appeal of its own. I mean, businesses who do take Kaspa, they're very pleased with how smoothly and well and fast everything is going. They say that you can't even compare it to Bitcoin. There is no reason to use raw Bitcoin if you have Kaspa. And they say that it just works a lot better than the Lightning Network in terms of user experience and in terms of the reliability. So this is already something like, if you want Bitcoin comparable security without using Lightning Network, something that works on-chain and is as fast as the Lightning Network, this is already something interesting. But also think about, after we have this MEV resistance smart contract thing going, for which there is like a lot of theory and design beyond it. It's not just empty words. Someone will be able to be the first one in the world to come out and genuinely and honestly say, we are going to launch the first ever MEV resistant DEX. You know how much it's worth? So maybe this guy is not an end user, but you as an end user really want this guy to come along and give you this service. And currently Kaspa is the only technology I know of that is able to provide.
Because, I'm thinking about all of the things in a more practical way, because now we have hundreds of different blockchains, different solutions, but it looks like we need, as an industry, some fundamental companies or some fundamental ideas that we need to implement that can be used on an everyday basis. For the Bitcoin, I think they use it mostly for, saving money, transfer money or something like this. So this is only reason for the Bitcoin. Transfer these Bitcoins from one to another. On the other hand, Ethereum created a whole infrastructure, building something that nobody knows why they need it for. Solana, it looks like become the home of meme coins because they created a whole industry. Me personally, I don't know anyone. Maybe I'm living in different cycles, of the people, etc. But for Solana, for me, it's associated with a meme coin. So everybody wants to create a meme coin, they go to Solana. What do you think will be the future of Kaspa? What do you think, or maybe your personal opinion, what it can be associated with in the future?
I am very hopeful about all of the enterprise and corporate approaches. If you look up the Kaspa Industrial Initiative, Kaspa KII on YouTube, you'll find their channel, and there you have recording of all of the talks that were given recently. We had a conference in Dublin last month, the Kaspa and Enterprise conference. They come up with a lot of interesting initiatives. One of them is going to be a middle layer that is implemented above Kaspa that is going to be compliant with ISO 222. So it will allow a simple integration with traditional finances. This will open the floodgates to many integrations of TradeFi over blockchain. I think Kaspa can offer, especially with its MEV resistance and the performance, it could provide very unique solutions in terms of supply chain and in terms of tokenization of real-world assets like energy, and we're already talking about creating a stable coin for green electrons, I think it was. Now the thing that is new, we've been talking with people who's been trying to do this on the various existing platforms since 2014, 2015, 2016. They built smart meters that convert green energy produced by a seller into tokens, and they place them, and they've done their experiments, and they realized that when they are very, very keen to do it on proof of work, because the whole point is decentralizing it, they just shelved their ideas because no proof of work network was performant enough for what they wanted to do. And then Kaspa came along, and they realized that a lot of their ideas that were shelved due to performance could actually be implemented. So I think this is going to be something that we'll see a lot of in the coming years, of Kaspa being deployed into larger industries, into tokenizations endeavors that weren't possible before. And I know that there are things in the works in the energy industry and in supply chains. One example of it that you can look up is called Olive Chain.
Yeah, do you have any examples from the other blockchain that are already implemented in some industries?
Actually, I do not. There is a reason why. I think a lot of industries are averse of proof of stake, because in proof of stake, we see, even in Ethereum, we see coercions. We see, like, last time, I don't know if it's still an issue right now, but I remember there were periods where you'd see that 40% of block creators would censor American wallets and this kind of stuff. So if you want to tokenize some very, very crucial asset like energy, then you can't rely on a technology that can protect you from this. You really need the censorship resistance, which only proof of work can provide, at least as of today. But then you find that proof of work is just not performant enough. So I think because Kaspa is the first technology that was able to provide proof of stake like performance and speed on a proof of work, this is going to have a great appeal. It's going to be the game changer from the side of the industrialists that gives them what they need up to now. And we have spoken to industrialists. Like, this isn't just a speculation. I've heard this from several serious people who have amazing track record of doing things in the supply and energy industries. I have faith that they are going to find a way to integrate Kaspa in a way that solves a lot of the problems that they're having with currently having to rely on the fiat coins that could be coerced by the countries that produce them.
Okay, guys, we are done for today. So, Shai, thanks a lot for this conversation. Guys, if you have any questions, please write it in the comments below, because for me, it's quite complicated to understand all the things. And I think if we'll find a way of the real use cases, of the real implementation of the Kaspa network or any other networks in real world, then it can be a big gap or a big step for the all of humanity. Thanks a lot for being with me.